I told my mom about my channel, and she told me that I could be anything but political. So I can talk about any topics I want to talk about, except political stuff. So I'll keep this channel as vanilla as possible. Today, I'll talk about The Republic by Plato. There are two statements that I want to make about this book. One, I enjoyed it more than I think I would. Two, you know how you often start YouTube with some Ed Sheeran music videos and then for some mysterious reason, after a few hours, you end up on this side of YouTube? It's gonna be the same with this book. I started out with a melancholy contemplation about old age, and 4 chapters later, I found myself in communism. So, without further ado, let me walk you through the majestic city of the Republic. The Republic is comprised of 10 books. The book starts with a brief conversation between Socrates and Cephalus, a wealthy old man who led an unblemished life. Socrates inquired Cephalus about life at the threshold of old age, to which Cephalus replied that not the physical deterioration, but a man's character, how he's lived his life, decides the quality of his old age. From a topic of a man's character, the conversation then segued into what is justice. At first I was like, okay, I'm not so interested because what are there to discuss about justice? However, the more I followed the conversation, the more I realized how much the concept of justice weaves inextricably into the fabric of human experience. We stumble upon justice all the time without even realizing it. For example, should I be nice to that sucker who just triggered me? Should I deny that I always Google the books I want to read followed by free EPUB/PDF? Should I feel bad for using ad blocker while watching YouTube? Why and why not? At this point, Cephalus excused to leave the discussion to his sons. The conversation was remained unresolved until the second half of Book 2. Socrates then had an idea. If the quest into the definition of a just man is so difficult, probably because a man is not big enough, why don't we take the same issue in a man, magnify it into a state, and look for justice? Quite an interesting solution, but okay. Here we go. Welcome to the rabbit hole. Socrates then went on to construct the perfect state and the education in such a state, in which he single-handedly sculpted the flesh and bones of censorship, the concept with which we still struggle until today. The idea is that the citizens of a perfect state should have the same concept and believe in God. Anything that insinuates a deviation from the perfection of God would destabilize the state and hence must be mercilessly discarded. Well, fair enough, but who gets to do the censoring? Who are the sheep and who gets to be the shepherd? Okay, let's not run too fast. Let's rewind a little. A state springs into existence from the necessity of trade. Since people are bringing their specialties to the table and exchange them, arises the division of labor. Necessities are apparently not enough. Citizens also want the luxury. Territory expansion and hence an army is now required. And now the state needs guardians to ensure the greatest happiness, not for any class, but for the whole. So who are the best fit for the job? Of course the philosophers, as decided by Socrates. How convenient. Then we may beg the question, what makes a state perfect? A perfect state must have 4 virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Wisdom together with courage makes a state resilient both in its physique and in its mind. Temperance produces the harmony for all of the members of a state work together. So where is room for justice? Let's not forget that the purpose of this whole saga is to find the definition of justice. Glaucon, we should surround the tower and let not justice escape. She must be somewhere in this country. Follow me. Here's no path. The wood is dark and perplexing. Still, we must push on. Yes, let us push on. I saw something. Hello? Truly, We're stupid fellows.
Why?
Why, my good soul? Because at the beginning of our inquiry, there was justice tumbling at our feet. We never saw her. It's like the people who go about looking for what they have in their hands.
What do you mean?
I mean, for a long time we've been talking of justice, but we failed to recognize her. Can you just freaking go straight to the point? Well, at the beginning, when we laid out the foundation for our state, our principle was one man should practice one thing only, the thing to which his nature was best adapted, yeah?
Yeah?
Yeah, so this is what justice is about. Justice is doing one's own business and not being a busybody. A cobbler should do a cobbling job, a farmer should do a farming job, and the ruler should do a ruling job. Now imagine if a farmer is doing the cobbler job or the ruling job, it would be a disaster. So kids, that's how Socrates arrived at the definition of justice. Justice is doing your own business. So from a definition of a just state, Socrates came to the definition of a just man. A just man is someone who has each part of his soul corresponding to each virtue of a state, doing its own job. So passion should not do the job of reasoning, and temperance should not jump into the battle when courage is called for. Book 5, 6, and 7 discuss further about how philosophy rules the state, and in this section, Socrates also introduced communism. In communism, private feeling is considered to be the demise of the state. And to prevent private feelings, the wives are to be common and the children are to be common. No parent is to know his or her own child, and nor the child is to know his or her own parent. Disagreements arise when there are terms mine and not mine. So everybody is to own the same thing, think the same way, and have the same kind of feelings. People serve the state in times of peace and die for the state in times of war. First, duty, what you give to the state, and then happiness, what you receive from the state, is the natural order in Socrates' moral idea. And here we could see the idea of a social contract emerges. These days, I often hear people throwing back and forth the phrase, I have the right to this, I have the right to that. But I rarely hear we mention about the other side of the equation, which is our duties. The perfect state is not stable and is fated to decay. For we cannot suppose that states are made of oak and rock and not out of human nature. For having the wisdom and the love for wisdom, the rulers of the perfect state receive the honor of a ruling class. Democracy rises out of the desire for honor. But rather than acquiring wisdom to gain honor, the lower class acquires property and wealth. Democracy falls when the class that possesses wealth rises to the top and becomes the ruler, forming oligarchy, the government of wealth. The ruler now grips on wealth because that's the thing that brought them up there. And by gripping on wealth, they squeeze the lower class into beggary. When the angered masses slaughter the wealthy ruling minority, democracy springs into being. But this is not the end. Democracy will soon plunge into her excessive desire for freedom. Excessive freedom breeds excessive slavery. And here, less humanity greet its final state, tyranny. From what we've learned from history, a lot of times this may not be the case. However, I found this part where Socrates kind of brushed through the rise and fall of different states extremely interesting, because it makes me think a lot about the current atmosphere that we are in. And I've been asking myself, try to speculate, what is the excessive desire that we all have in this society? And what is that abstract thing that we are gripping on? You know what I mean? Another part I found impressive about the Republic is the part where Socrates discussed about the utility of being virtuous. And in a conversation with Glaucon in Book 2, Socrates evaluates whether a just man is happier than an unjust man. The underlying concept is that unjust acts undeniably bring more profit for the actor at the expense of others. So if we know that our actions would go undetected, we would tend to bend the rule a little bit. However, it also risks retaliation. And here you could see how the iterated prisoner's dilemma enters the chat. And I read about game theory in the book Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins, and I was so fascinated by it. And that's why now when I encountered it again, but described in a more rough and less defined way, and mind you, the Republic was written 2000 years ago, I was mind blown. Now I can see how the Republic is considered to be the most important philosophy work of all time, even though there are a lot of inconsistencies in the logic. Still, how the hell could these people come up with this kind of stuff ages ago already? It's just insane. And there are also a lot of other major philosophical ideas discussed in the book, but I just picked out the main theme, and I could go on for forever, but I think it's good for now. And I really hope that any of you who haven't read The Republic would be inspired and would give it a try. And that's it for this video. I hope you have a good time. I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.